Somebody managed to already knock one of the pillars over. I don't know. Really. Okay. So so full marks to Martin and Judith Meyer, Martin Selitsky and Judith Meyer, and all of the large number of people, like I said above, that are in the volunteer force around that. But in the meantime, of course, despite intending a New York or something conference this year, all of a sudden plans changed, and there's going to be one in Novi Sad as well in October, which is actually Novi Sad city municipality has agreed to host it and have all kinds of important people turning up and make it a kind of actual official city thing. And they've already got about 200, 220 delegates already planned for that one. So whether I really end up going to it, I don't know. I don't know whether that's going to be. Obviously, there's some high-ranking polyglots going to that one, but I think Luca and Richard are both going to be. They're both on the speakers list for this one anyway. So whether I need to go to both is anybody's guess. I see somebody's coming up very fast behind me and wants me to get out of their way, so I will. I'm not after conflict. Am I? W3 Jacob. It's Jacob, like in Lost. Okay. So yeah, I think I've given a reasonable introduction to what's going on. It's certainly carried on jabbering for too long, which is my usual thing. I should stop there, I think. Apart from hearing me jabber on about the rationale for the conference, and say that I haven't made up my mind really, is I think the official situation about the Novi Sad one. I'm definitely going to go to the Berlin one. It's very interesting. There's up to 3 streams, 2 or 3 streams going on at once of speakers on a whole different range of topics, including constructed languages, political aspects of language, sociological stuff, psychological stuff involving polyglottism, basically a broader range of stuff than you would ever see. Well, I used to be in the Institute of Linguists. Okay, I was an associate of the Institute of Linguists since I basically finished my degree at Cambridge, right the way through until just a couple of years ago, where I decided, look, I'm just paying money, reading this magazine. It's the same articles month in, month out. There's lots of other ways of being a linguist, you know, that this doesn't seem to have any bearing. It's a little bit academic. It doesn't really seem to have any bearing. It's a bit for professional translators and what have you. It doesn't seem to have any bearing on the hobby. And it's been completely unimpacted by all of these interesting things going on the net. It itself has a LinkedIn group. That's what actually did it for me. It set up a LinkedIn group, but the LinkedIn group, all it did was listed people. There was no discussion. 0 discussions were started, and you couldn't start one. So it was like you just put your name there, you just put yourself there. You could see some other members, but you couldn't do anything with it. I just thought, this is so pathetic. There's no interaction. There's no online presence for this at all. It's old hat. I don't want it. I've got plenty of other interesting things online, and I'm paying for this. So I decided that I didn't want to pay for it anymore, and I sent them a letter basically saying that I didn't want to be a member anymore. So I basically left it. And so yeah. So you used to have letters after your name for being in it. AIL you could put after your name, but since it was so meaningless and pathetic, I decided that I would never do it anyway. So I never once really used that, although they used to use the designation when they sent me the bill every year. But it was, you know, associated with the Institute of Linguistics, you could put AIL after your name, yeah? But I was afraid that people might think that I would be a federal associate of the Institute of Linguists, and therefore I didn't want to put it there any longer in case somebody was tempted to actually just write an F in front of it, because that's really what it appeared to be to me, to be like. Really reading the magazine, the same old articles, year in, year out, 6 or 7 times a year. Nothing really groundbreaking in it. And you got the impression that anything of the sort of really interesting stuff that that people have been discussing on the internet about language learning. If that got in there, it would just be poo-pooed by these people who sort of like know better. But yeah, but I mean, whatever was in that magazine, there's all that and a lot more besides being talked about at the conference, and people that really obviously care about what they're doing. They may not earn anything from it in some cases they do, the people that are professional linguists, but I soon came to the conclusion, even being at university, that there's nothing really much you can earn, not in terms of serious money. As a linguist, you'd have to be on half or a third of what you can earn in any of the boring professions, doing the stuff that you actually love. So, and bearing in mind the fact that you spend a lot of time at work, well, you better start to love it, but that's the one thing. So that's an argument to do things that you like, but then also, because you spend so much time on it, you might stop liking it, and then what you're left with, if you no longer like the things you like, what you're left to like? Better to work at the things which you know are work, try and find some interest there by getting good at it, and still have your hobbies to fall back on. The problem with that strategy, as I found in my life, is that you never got enough time to do all your hobbies. In fact, you never got enough time to do all your work either, but basically that's, well, just have to do what you can. That's why I use these scraps of time when I'm doing other things like driving to film. I use this time because when am I going to get any other time? So when I'm travelling, I'm filming, and that's why my channel, which started off completely differently, became a travelogue channel effectively. Of course, it's me mouthing off my opinions all the time as well, which people either like or they don't like, bearing in mind the fact that, you know, the average number of people watching any of my films now that come out that are new is gone down from, well, it's halved and it's halved again from the glory days, so it's only a quarter of what I used to have. You know, so the whole thing's just gone down. But at the end of the day, I like the way it's produced a record of my existence, and it's given me other things. I keep saying this, that it's given me the ability to really remember what I've been doing, because I do a lot of travel and what have you, and it brings it back to me once I actually film the stuff, and then later on I make the films that go up, and then I watch the films that go up because I'm responding to the comments or whatever, and I certainly can watch them whenever I want them, of course, and they're all up in a certain order. It means that I can go back and check things and remember, bring them to life again. All my old travels, I can bring them to life in a way. The ones which I did before I started filming, I did a few, yeah? In fact, even I had a Berlin conference before I started filming with Hallworth, and I had a Dominican Republic one, which I can remember a bit of because I was at least doing photographs then. I had a camera. I had 2 Spanish conferences in Barcelona and Malaga respectively, which as well largely lost because I didn't do really photography. What photography I did wasn't even digital, so I think the prints I made are probably locked away in some drawer somewhere along with others that I never look at, whereas the digital ones are there on the computer. You can see them anytime you like. It costs you nothing to have a whole load of them with you. You can put them on digital photo frames and all that kind of stuff, and have loads and loads and loads of them with you and see them again and again, and it reminds you of all the things you've done in your life. In my case, started filming, I could say that I started doing digital photography, if it was this time in 2005, I think it was. Well, now it's 2014, so that's 9 years of digital photography, and then add to that